Hey guys, welcome back. I am Jason Salyer, and today I just want to live in the moment. Like all of you out there watching, you've got busy lives, you've got conflicting priorities. Your husbands and wives, you're an employee, you're running businesses, you got a lot of stuff going on. Not even taking into consideration all of the preparations that we're making to ensure a normal life when the world goes to crap. And it's difficult to stop every now and then and just smell the roses, you know? Just enjoy being in the now instead of worrying about what happens next. I'm like a freaking squirrel, twitchy and chasing around things, just constantly on the go, and I'm always thinking about what's next. I'm never here and I'm never now. I'm always what's next. And I think that being in a constant state of what's next is exhausting, I think. And I think too many of us live our lives like that, and we need to sometimes just go squirrel hunting. I'm not a very sentimental type person, but this is one of my prized possessions right here. This is a knife that was made by myself, my papa, and my great-grandfather. My papa and I made this out of an old file. We ground it down to shape and got a good keen edge on it. Even put a nice flat spot here, 90-degree spine, just on this section right here so I could strike a ferro rod with it. And my great-grandfather is the one that put the handle on it for us. And he put my name on there in 1994. I made the sheath out of some old rawhide, I think it's pigskin actually. And it just dangles on my belt. And it works perfectly. And like I said, I'm not very sentimental. I don't hang on to a lot of possessions. I'm not really into that. But this is one thing that I will always cherish and pass down to my son one of these days when he's ready for it. This is my single shot 12 gauge. I grew up hunting with a single shot. My dad's single shot 12 gauge. This is not it, but this is an H&R. I've modified it, as you can probably tell, with a synthetic stock that I did a little paint job on. I even shortened the barrel, so now it's not a modified choke anymore. It's a just a cylinder bore. No choke at all. It's just a straight tube basically. And there's really only 3 types of ammunition that I stockpile for a 12 gauge, and that is number 6. This is low brass and works very effectively on small game like squirrels. I'll use high brass number 6 like for turkeys, 3-inch magnums on turkeys with a extra full choke, turkey choke. But really number 6 is, I just try to simplify my life, and number 6 is what I use for everything. Might be different brass heights, but and different length shells, but number 6 is it. I'll also get buckshot and slugs for deer. But I don't mess around with anything other than 6. 6 seems to work for just about everything.
we got one. I was looking up in the tops of the trees, and one popped out here right in front of me. I had to aim kind of low so I didn't completely annihilate him with the round. The good thing about hunting with a cylinder bore for small game is at close ranges you're not going to obliterate them. You're going to only hit them with a few pellets, which is kind of the goal. Shotguns are super versatile firearms, good for pretty much everything, but you know, there are limitations. If you shoot a squirrel at 5 yards, there's not going to be a whole lot left of them. But if you shoot a squirrel with a cylinder bore at 20 yards, only a few pellets are going to hit him, kind of like this. So that's where he was right on top of this right here, on top of this log, and I aimed at the bottom of the log here, or the top of the log here, so only a few pellets would stray up and whack him. Get him. What typically works for me is I'll sit quietly in a spot, more quiet than I am right now, talking to you, and I'll just kind of, it's hard to describe, but I'll just kind of blur my vision a little bit, and I'll look at the whole woods, everything out in front of me, and I'll look for movement. So I'm looking at an entire huge patch of woods, like, you know, kind of from right here all the way over to here, basically what you can see. I'll be looking at all of that, and if anything moves at all, my eye will spot it, and then I'll just wait patiently. And sometimes the squirrels will come closer and closer, sometimes they won't, and you'll need to move in on them, but that seems to work pretty well for me. It's just all about being patient. A lot of people prefer like a 22 or a 17 over shotgun for small game. But really, I mean, I've had success with 22s and stuff hunting small game, obviously, but I'm so much more successful with a shotgun, you know, especially with squirrels or birds, obviously birds, but especially with squirrels, because they just, you know, they're running and jumping. They hardly ever hold still. And another key thing to think about with a 22 is that if a squirrel's up in a tree, and, you know, the tree is not directly behind him, that bullet, if you miss, or even if you do hit it, that bullet's going to keep going for a long ways. Not a lot going on out here in the woods. I mean, not even a lot of birds are stirring. The weather's changing. It's really warm. It's, you know, getting close to Christmas now, and I'm just in a long sleeve t-shirt. I would bet it's 60 degrees right now, probably. For today's comment, tell me what this animal is. There's your hint. I was hoping for two. It takes at least two to make a meal out of these small gray squirrels. I think it might have been Steve Ranella, the meat eater guy, posted something. They had like half a dozen squirrels that looked like cats, like great big old fat house cats. It was crazy how big they were. The gray squirrels around here, fairly small. Another thing to consider when small game hunting is not losing the game after you shoot it. It's definitely happened to me before, and it sucks when you shoot a squirrel or rabbit or something and you can't find it. You know you hit it, but you can't find it. That's really not a cool thing. So what I do when I shoot a squirrel is I make a mental note of exactly which tree that I shot it out of, and as I work my way over that direction, I can see exactly where it fell. So, like, for example, I shot it out of that tree right there. That's a very distinctive curve to it. So I kept that in my in my visual as I'm trekking through the woods, and I know that the squirrel fell directly out of that tree, and I should be able to find it as long as it was a clean shot and no issues there. There we go. Squirrely 2. It always helps to do this near some water. If you got a stream, fantastic. Hose, whatever. All I did was make a small incision on the back of the squirrel, and then you just pull the skin, the hide off, and you kind of just turn it inside out, like a sock, taking off a sock, and that seems to be the way to do it. And all this stuff, I mean, you can save the hides and things like that if you're interested in doing that, but for the most part, I just chuck them in the woods. Nothing in nature goes to waste. All of this is going to be gone. All of this will be eaten by the minks and possums and all the other critters that roam this creek. It has not been gutted yet. So what I'll do is I'll make a small incision right here at the xiphoid process, I believe it is called. At least that's what it's called on humans. Right here where the rib cage meets the sternum. I'll make a small incision, and then I'll basically run my finger and tear out the rest and get all the nasty bits out. And there we have it. We've got a pretty much cleaned, ready for the crock pot squirrel. Got a little dirt on it, but we'll get that off. But the key is not getting hair on the meat. Squirrel hair is hard to get off the meat. Once it's on there, you got to kind of pick it off individually, hair by hair, which is really irritating. But if you turn it inside out, turn the hide inside out on the squirrel, it seems to eliminate most of those issues. So, you guys ever seen the feet of a squirrel close up? This is the magic right here. This is how they move so well through the trees, is these really sharp claws with their fingers. They've got pretty much hands. This is the rear, the hind end here, his back feet, and they can turn their feet backwards and climb down trees that way. It allows them to hook into the bark climbing down the tree, and that's what allows them to run through the trees like they do. All right, well, there's 2 dressed out squirrels ready for the crock pot, or however I end up deciding to cook them. Unfortunately, I will probably not be able to show you all the details of the cleaning process and turning a squirrel into food, because the world is full of wimps, and the last time I did that, my video was got the boot off of the YouTubes. Hit that thumbs up, leave us a comment, tell us what that nasty dead animal was up in the woods, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you real soon, guys. Thanks.